Okay, shall we start? Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatvamanusandathami Bhagavad Gita Bhavatveshinim Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Stunvanti Divyaistavaihi Vedai Sangha Padakramo Panishadaihi Gayanti Yam Samagaha Dhyanavastita Tatkatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yoginaha Yasyantam Na Vidussura Suragana Devaya Tasmai Namah Devaya Tasmai Namah. So we were reviewing in the last class that section of the 6th chapter which talks about the advantages of doing nididhyasana. So this is what is called phalam. So phalam means fruits, which means that what benefits you will get from doing Vedantic meditation. And in this sense, one of the very good things to see is a self-evaluation in terms of, given the gradations of the results, where are you in the process? How much is it giving you the freedom that is being talked about, the happiness that is being talked about? So this is a good way for us to see where we are in that. And so, as you know, I won't revise it again. We have done it again a couple of times. But you know that there were 7 different stages of the fruits of meditation. And so those are distributed in the verses number 20 to 23, these 7. So very briefly, one of them is called Chitta Uparamanam. So means that to withdraw your thoughts from outside into yourself as you are. And so one of the very important things to remember about the Vedantic meditation, again, it needs repetition from time to time, that this is not emptying your thoughts. So the meditation on Vedanta doesn't mean that you become devoid of your thoughts. In fact, it's just the opposite. So this is an important point, because this is the one which is being espoused, which is being recommended by most, or if not all, if not all of them, really, all the schools of thought feel that you just need to calm down your mind. You've got lots of things going on, there's a lot of disturbances, which is true. We have a lot of things going on, there are a lot of disturbances. But the way to achieve moksha is to reduce those thoughts. And this sounds very logical also. Because you feel that, in fact, if my thoughts are the ones who are causing me problems, then I should remove the thoughts. But it is very much like, if there are some symptoms and you eliminate the symptoms, you feel the disease will go away. It is just as foolish as that. This doesn't work. But we don't lack trying. All throughout the history of the humankind, this is exactly what is going on. Any kind of schools of thoughts that say, just do meditation. Just do meditation and you'll be okay. Very recently, my niece in Dubai, so, and all this time she has never asked me about what I'm doing, and I haven't really. But she asked me some questions, and she says, Vijay Mama, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? So I says, what do you mean? So she lives in Dubai, and they have a friend that is doing self-realization fellowship from the autobiography of a yogi. And so she said, she was telling me all this. She says that, she has a friend, her mother is a very experienced person who's been following Yogananda for a long time. And her daughter, who's a friend of my niece, they are now beginning, and she says what we do is we do meditation. And her mother is a very experienced meditator. So all this is was talking about. And she was asking me, what do you think about all this? So I haven't replied to her in great detail. I've just basically told her, I think that instead of becoming a yogi, become a jnani. And the best way to become a jnani is to study a book like Bhadavad Gita. That's all I said. There's nothing more that I wanted to. But anyway, so this is a good example. So in the Self-Realization Fellowship, I don't know all the details of what they do, but the fact is they are experts in meditation. And meaning that they will probably have a good way of eliminating thoughts and just being with yourself all the time. It doesn't work because this is like symptom hunting. It doesn't work. So the Vedantic meditation is very different. Instead of eliminating thoughts, it is to replace the thoughts about my lower nature with the thoughts about my higher nature. And so what it means is my lower nature means what? My lower nature might mean in this context the fact that I am just a limited human being with all of its various repercussions. As soon as you feel that I am a human being, now you are surrounded with all the paraphernalia of a human being. Paraphernalia means that you are the body. So the problems of the body become your paraphernalia. You are the mind, and my goodness, all the issues related to mind all become your paraphernalia. So this all constitutes a lower estimation of who you are. Lower in the sense of what can be done. It's okay, it's nothing low or high, we are what we are. But compared to my higher nature, this is nothing. This is kind of like saying you have a nature of a wave in the ocean, but you are the whole ocean. Don't you realize that you are the whole ocean? But no, I'm just happy with not happy, but I'm okay with what I'm as a wave. So the Vedantic meditation. So in the example of the wave and the ocean that I just took up, the alternative of being a deep meditator, like self, and I'm criticizing it without really knowing them fully. I've read the book, and so that was a long time ago, but I'm not an expert in the kind of meditation that they do. But anyway, using that example, it will be something like, you're telling a wave, just pretend you are not a wave. Just pretend you are everything. So then you cannot keep on submerging the fact that you are a wave. Sooner or later it comes up. The alternative is to make them understand that your identity is misplaced. You are the entire ocean. Even though you are just a small portion of your form, but the content of that, being the water, is the same as the whole ocean. Don't you see that? I don't see that yet. Therefore, to summarize, the Vedantic meditation means not denying. There's no denial. There is in fact a substitution of the lower form with the higher form. And this can be done, or this needs to be done, by fully engrossing yourself in the narrative of the higher self. That narrative has to be explained. And this is where I thought that the analogy that Swami Paramarthananda gave was just absolutely brilliant. And what he said was that just like you can replace your identity as a moviegoer with the identity that you can assume if you are fully absorbed in watching the movie. When you're fully absorbed in watching the movie, you do not try hard to be a moviegoer. A moviegoer means a person with problem. Let's just look at that. Supposing a moviegoer means, why do you not go to a movie? Because you want to be entertained. Why do you want to be entertained? There's no reason to be entertained. No, I need to be entertained because, my life is tough and you've got a lot of problems, this, that, or the other. And it'd be nice to just go to a movie. This is our mindset. Okay, fine. So you go to a movie. When you enter the movie, you are a moviegoer. Moviegoer means person with lots of problems. But then, so this is a good example to do that. Supposing you are a person with problems, as we were discussing in the previous class, there is a Shruti behind you which keeps saying, all is not well with me. And all is not well with me. All is not well with me. This is the constant Shruti that goes on. Okay? And so we were just discussing it in the previous class. So I know Lychee was there in the last one, so it will be a repetition for her. But all the other people will. So let me just give that example. So there is a constant Shruti. Shruti means a kind of like a tampura, which is playing in my mind all the time. All is not well with me. I'm not completely happy. I gotta do this. I have to do things. This is a constant for everyone. It can be interrupted here and there, most often by having a good meal. But other than that, this Shruti keeps up all the time. But there are two methods of eliminating this Shruti, or at least not letting this Shruti bother me. The most natural method is to go to sleep. And when you are asleep, this Shruti, why when you are asleep means you as ahankara, the I thought is also missing. I'm not talking about the dream, but the deep sleep. The ahankara is also missing. And ahankara is the source of saying all is not well with me. And if the ahankara is missing, then the Shruti also disappears. And this method is natural and it is given, it's spiritual. Deep sleep is the most spiritual thing you can think of. It is given by Ishvara as a gift to you. And so this is one thing. Or you can drown it by artificial means. And so drinking is the most common. When you drink alcohol, then the I thought also disappears. It becomes crazy, and this is exactly the reason this is called happy hour. That you have 2 or 3 drinks, and then you can submerge it, and it works. Or any kinds of other kind of like drugs. But it only submerges. It doesn't come back again. It comes back again. So this is the method of doing that. So just look at this. This is a good way to understand what is Vedantic meditation, Nididhyasanam, as opposed to Dhyanam. So now let's look at more other methods of drowning out all is not well with me. One could be just ordinary meditation, self-realization fellowship. And then you can just, everybody has different methods. You can say Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, whatever you want to do. And pretty soon, it just sort of, this is what is called laya. The word laya is used. Laya means drowning out this Shruti, all is not well with me. All is not well with me. And so this is one method. So it starts with sleep. It means drinking. And it means some forced or some, I wouldn't say forced, but some specialized meditation which will say this, no thoughts. Okay. Another method, this is something we should think about, is to watch a movie. This is important, really. This is why I think that And Swami Paramarthananda gave that example, that really gave me an idea. This is exactly like it is. So what Swamiji was saying, that when you watch a movie, then for the duration of the movie, this Shruti gets completely lost. All is not, because you are no longer a movie goer. You are identified with the characters of the movie. You become one with them. You are transported into a different reality. That also is not reality, but it's different from your other reality, which is I'm a moviegoer. This is why people go to movies. Because it allows you to assume a different identity. And if the movie if the movie has to be good too, because if the movie is not good, then you know what will happen. Your moviegoer relation, your identity as a moviegoer will come back to you during the movie. You're saying, how long is the movie? This is not very good. And you can even walk out. But if you are absorbed in the narrative of a good movie, then your entire identity changes. You are no longer a moviegoer. The Vedantic meditation is to create the movie of your higher self. And the interesting thing about the Vedantic meditation is this. Just look at this. When you go to a movie, your alternate identity as a character in the narrative of the movie is equally false. In fact, it is less real than your identity as a moviegoer. It is shorter, doesn't last as long. Because pretty soon, after an hour and a half, the movie is over, you're back again to a moviegoer again. But during that time, it is very effective in transporting you to a different alternative completely. Yes, no doubt about it. There you can be laughing, you could be crying, you could be emotional, whatever it is, but it is nothing to do with your other reality. This is the movie narrative. In the case of the Vedantic meditation, this is what Bhagavad Gita is saying. It is like absorbing you into a new movie. And this movie is very different from your going to our local movie. How? Number of different ways. One of the ways is that it makes you much better than your lower reality. Because when you go to a movie, you're not sure what identity you are going to take up. It's very possible actually that the movie identity may be worse than your moviegoer identity. What is this French La Miserable? I don't know how to pronounce it, but you know this very famous Les Miserables. So it's all about problems. It is worse than what you and I are. But people still go to it because it gives you a different idea of how life was in France at that time, and so on. So the movie can be worse than this one. Not so in the Vedantic meditation. Because in Vedantic meditation it says you don't understand. There is something about yourself, and let me explain it to you. And so this meditation is the narrative which is difficult. It's not as easy as just taking a ticket and sitting down on a movie theater. It is much more elaborate than that. But it is very similar. So this is where attending classes and doing Shravanam and Mananam, all that is important. And then you create a situation where all this drama about yourself is replaced by something much higher. But then you have to be absorbed in it. And once you get absorbed with it, it is very different from the local movie. Number one, it's much higher. More importantly, it does not stop. It is in fact permanent. Why is it permanent? Is it just our saying it that we want you to just believe in it? No. It is permanent because it replaces your personality by your person. Your swabhava by your swarupa. This is who you are. It is not what you want to be, but you already are. And so this has to be appreciated. So this is what is called a Vedantic meditation or a Nididhyasana. And this is what is being talked about here. And so this Vedantic meditation, just like supposing you are starting to watch a movie. So these 7 points, these 7 definitions of Nididhyasanam, phalam for Nididhyasanam that we talked about, embedded in the verses number 20 to 23. These 4 verses. Number 20 was Yatra uparamate chittam niruddham yoga sevaya yatra cha eva atmana atmanam pashyan atmani tushyati, then sukham atyantikam yadvat, or those kinds of things. All these 4 verses, 20, 21, 22 and 23, give you the stages of your absorption into the movie narrative. So, I'm just constructing this. So it will be very much like, I think we have talked about it already. So like, for example, supposing you are a moviegoer. And then as a moviegoer, you've got some problems. You cannot find parking. You are just waiting and the movie is starting and you don't have a ticket. All those are problems of a moviegoer. Somehow you did this, you got, and then you're sitting in the very second row from the front. And your family members and you are fighting. I told you to come early. And so this is all problems of a moviegoer. The effect of the movie hasn't started yet. Then anyway, your arguments are over, you're so on and so forth, sitting down, do the best we can. And then you're starting to switch off your cell phone. You're looking at the your mind is calming down a little bit. You're looking at your neighbors, and then the commercials start. You're slow now. You are about 90% as a moviegoer, 10% into the movie. Then there is a transition. Then the movie starts. Now you're 60%, 40%, like this. After a while, you are almost 100% into the movie and only 0% as a moviegoer. So that's exactly what these 7 stages are being given. Chittam uparamanam, atmanah darshanam, atyantika sukham, yatra ayam sthitaha tatvatah na chalati, atyantika labhaha, yasmin sthitana vichalyate. Then came the last one, which is the most important one. Dukkham samyoga viyogam. So this is verse number 23. And so this one we can spend a little bit more time on, and an understanding of what this importance of this verse also is important. This is very much quoted all the time by the acharyas. This is an important verse and gives you the technical truth about this alternative narrative. It gives you the technical truth. All the other ones are true also, but this gives the logic, the ultimate logic for it. So, in order to give you an introduction to this, let me bring you back to what I was discussing in the earlier class also. Again, apologies to Lichi because she was there. So, when I was studying this came to me that this is a good way for us to talk about this. So what is said is that when we are born, our identity is that of a human being. I'm a human being, with all the implications of that. Human being means that I have a human body, I have a mind, I have some instruments of knowledge, instruments of action, I have hands, all those implications. This is the definition of a human being. And as a human being, as we saw earlier, I am not completely happy with myself. There's always a feeling that I can do better. There's always a shruti, all is not well with me, all is not well with me. And I go through various experiences to make myself feel better. And one of the most evolved methods of feeling myself better is to have spiritual experiences. Spiritual experiences means where through meditation and calming my mind down, through yoga and so on, I feel better about myself. I have, this shruti is, so the drowning of the shruti is not done through drugs or alcohol. It is done through some very nice ways of yoga and meditation. Pranayama, yoga, etc., etc. Okay, so this is my method. So just look at it. My primary method is to continue believing that I am a human being. And my secondary methods are that I want to have a spiritual experience. So this is what characterizes the false impression about myself. Impression means it's a very firm conclusion. Firm conclusion is that I'm a limited being and I want to have a higher experience. This is it. Vedanta says, wait. Not true. This is not the true picture. Really? What do you mean it's not the true picture? Is this what everybody's experience is? The true picture is you are not a human being with seeking a spiritual experience. You are a spiritual being with a human experience. Just the other way around. We don't deny that you have a human experience. Absolutely, we know that. That's why we are talking to you. All we are saying is you have it backwards. That your so-called human experience is superimposed upon your being a spiritual being. Your nature is that of being a spiritual being. What do you mean by spiritual being? Spiritual being means you are Atma, the Sakshi, the Chit Swarupa. As we saw earlier in the examples, you are the electricity which is independent of the appliance. You are not the appliance. You're not the appliance with electrical energy going through you. You are electricity going through this appliance. This is what needs to be understood. And this spiritual being is the same spiritual being that is there everywhere in this whole creation. This Atma, the consciousness, conscious entity. When you say a spiritual being, we mean a conscious entity. And this conscious entity is not an experience. It is your own nature. So an experience means something that comes from outside. What comes from outside is the human experience. So just like in Ayurveda also, it says that in Ayurveda means that if you have a problem, it is a superimposition on you. Your nature is swasthya. You are a healthy person. That's just the example of Ayurveda. But just to give you an example. So any disease, even in our experience, we find that any disease, like for example, you get a cold. The cold is an external experience that comes and goes. Your natural state is without a cold. It's not as though you're stuck with cold and you are just taking some medicines to ward it off. No. So similarly, the body experience is a disease. So this verse explains that. This is the central verse. So he says, number 23, if you look at the words, tam vidyat dukkha samyoga viyogam yoga samyitam. So this is a very often quoted and initially confusing verse. So the words yoga samyitam. Samyitam means defined as, known as, is called samgita. So yoga samgita means defined and known as yoga. May you know the yoga. So before we go into the details of it, the word yoga comes from the dhatu yuj, means to unite. Yoga means to unite, to be one with. It's called yoga. Here, it is just the opposite. So Lord Krishna is saying, really, yoga means disunite. And the disunity is called viyogam. To disconnect is called viyogam. And disconnecting from dukkha samyoga. So dukkha samyoga means a natural connection with dukkha. A connection with dukkha, but the word sam is used. Some yoga means intimately connected. What do you mean by intimately connected? Why isn't normal connected enough? It's for the following reason. Whenever you have dukkha means some problems. You immediately think that's me. It could be physical problems, could be mental problems. But whenever they occur in the form that that's me. I am unhappy. You don't say, my mind is unhappy and I have nothing to do with it. No. I'm unhappy. I'm in pain. I've got problems. This is dukkha. And sukha also. So both of the pairs come together. Sukha also means I'm relieved. I'm very happy. Even though happiness is my nature, where I go around telling people, I'm very happy. And that one we can even say, really, you're very happy? Why? We should know that you're normally happy, it's okay, we don't question it. You have a smile on your face, it's nice, everybody's supposed to do that. But if you say, I am very happy, that means something extraordinary. So then it begs the question, oh really, what happened? Oh, my daughter finally found a boy that she wants to get married. I'm so happy. So both ways, dukkha and sukha comes about. So going back to dukkha, dukkha means you have a samyoga to dukkha. What do you mean by samyoga to dukkha? That means whenever dukkha occurs, it always becomes very personal to me. That's me. This is not true. This is exactly like saying that that this flu virus is me. You don't say that. You'll say, somebody might write to me and saying, I'm sorry, I cannot come to the class because I have the flu. Nobody says, I am the flu. People say, I have the flu, and that is the right thing. Why do you say, I have the flu? Because a week earlier, I did not have the flu, and a week later, I am sure I will not have the flu. I don't know how long it might last. It will go away. I am what I am, capable of getting flu, but the flu is an external device to me. But I don't say the same thing about dukkha. When you have problems, you don't say, I have sorrow. Say, I am sorrowful. This is what is called samyoga, dukkha samyoga. Dukkha samyoga. So now you understand, so this is what dukkha samyoga means, that when you look upon dukkha not as an external thing but as your own nature. And yoga samgitam is to understand that dukkha is like a virus. This is an important verse. Tam vidyat dukkha samyoga viyogam iti yoga samgitam. So what it means in the earlier definition that I was saying is that what I have to understand through the study of Vedanta is that I am not a human being looking for a spiritual experience, but I am a spiritual being that should know that the human experience is temporary. This is what I have to do. And so in that sense, all the earlier 6 stages of phalam were leading up to this. This is the technically correct. The other ones were perhaps, chitta uparamanam, atyantika sukham, you'll feel better, you'll feel better, you'll feel better, etc., etc., etc. But why do I feel better? And what is my moksha, what my permanence, comes from this verse. Tam vidyat dukkha samyogam viyogam yoga samgitam. That really yoga means you are not joined at the hip with dukkha. We should view dukkha as, it is just still learning, we are not done yet. But you should see that your nature is free of dukkha. And it is through your non-understanding you are taking dukkha to be yourself. Not really true. And you may, it's okay, you can take dukkha, but exactly, this is what happens in our life also. Sometimes, you get a problem, and then you don't know whether this is a permanent problem or just a temporary problem. And one of the reliefs when you go to a doctor, it may be a relief, may not be a relief. The doctor may give you a wrong symptom, not wrong symptom, but a very serious symptom. I'm sorry, this is a very serious disease. But supposing you go to a doctor and the doctor says, oh, this will go away. It will go away. You just take this and so on and so forth. The pain might still be there. But you know what? Because of the assurance from the doctor that this will be temporary, the pain doesn't bother you as much. Doesn't bother you as much. Because you'll say, oh, it's okay. He says that it'll take about a week or so. This just like, this is a cold virus going along. And so then you have a cold for a week, you say, I can bother that. But supposing the person says, I'm sorry, from now on you're never going to recover from this cold, then I have worse problems. Then my way of looking at it is worse. So exactly like this, if you were to know that any kind of a dukkha is something I'm not unnecessarily worried about, because that is not me. It's an external superimposition. It's a very different thing altogether. And so then the second line, Saha nishchayena yoktavyaha yogaha nirvinna chetasa. So what it means is, so the second line is also very important in that sense, that the first line gives you the definition of what is yoga, tells you about the nature of the self and so on and so forth. But then, I don't feel it yet. It's not I'm not disbelieving you, hey Krishna. You are the Ishvara and you're telling me this. But how come it should immediately leave me? Krishna says it won't leave you right away. It is kind of like, you go to a doctor and the doctor says, yep, there's the same flu going around. And yes, you have it. I see exactly the same symptoms. Yep, it'll go away. And then you say, I know, but I'm suffering. The doctor said, I know. It's okay. Supposing somebody goes to the doctor and says, no, I want it. You're wrong. It should go away right now. What is the doctor going to say? He will probably take you to the mental hospital. I'm telling you, it'll go. Don't you trust me? He says, I don't trust you, but I still have my doubts. So this is what the second line is saying. He says, Sa nishchayena yoktavyaha yogaha nirvinna chetasa. He says, please be patient. And here the patience is of a very interesting order, because it is my own problem that I am taking dukkha to be myself. And so I have a job to do to train my own mind. Nothing more will happen. More happen means some more instructions will be given, classes will be given, somebody will put their arms around you and say, it's okay, this is what life is, it'll be all right, don't worry. All of that will happen. But it is my job, because I am now so conditioned with the feeling that I am a human being and I want an experience. I'm desperate. Anytime there is some kind of a class on yoga and pranayama, I flock to it. Maybe that person can help me. My total conviction is that I am a human being and I need some experience. And so when somebody comes along and says, no, not true, these conventional methods are not going to help you, you have to see you are already free. But I don't see it at this point. You will. You will. Just calm your mind down. Then you will. And so that is the second part of this verse, second line of this verse. Saha nischena yoktavyaha. Should be practice in the sense, so here practice means there is nothing to be done. But anytime your doubts about yourself arise, you have to, so this is what is said that nididhyasanam, if it is not as effective, then what do you need to do? You cannot do something about it. What you have to do is go back to Shravanam. Do some more mananam. Go back to nididhyasanam. Am I done yet? No. Go back to Shravanam. Look at what is being said. And so this is what is called jnana sadhana. Not karma sadhana, but jnana sadhana. There's nothing to be done. This is the way how vidya is learnt. Swami Maheshananji had given this very beautiful example, that when you are learning a new language with somebody learning Sanskrit, you're never really don't know what these funny looking characters are and what the sound is and so on. You'll become an expert in Sanskrit, but it takes a little while for you to know. Or even Swamiji says that to learn some normal counting and formulas and so on, takes a while for you to become very conversant with it. And then pretty soon you would know what is 3 squared is 9. You know it by heart. And what is the square root of 9 is 3. Know it by heart. You don't have to think about it. And so that practice. So here, Shravanam and Mananam is to go back to it again. Because in fact it is written in our Shastra also, Paunaf punyena Shravanam kuryat. Punaf Shravanam kuryat means just going to a class one time and say, you are the Atma, it doesn't do anything. Because my way of looking at it is so distorted that I am a human being. It's so embedded in my mind. It's kind of like, you had so much to drink that your perception of reality is very distorted. And you need to get the drink to become less effective. So don't drop this pursuit altogether. So saha nischayena yoktavyaha yogaha nirvinna chetasa. Nirvinna chetasa means that that should be your goal. It's already shown, and in fact, they say, they're saying now in medical field that one of the biggest problems in treatment of diseases is that people don't take their medicines regularly. This is what happens. You go through the problems and so on, somebody says, okay, yes, all decided and so on, but you have to take these pills for almost like, if you're a diabetic, you have to take it permanently. But you become careless and so on and so forth. What can we do? So this is exactly what is said. Yogaha nirvinna cheta. Anirvinna chetasa. Anirvinna chetasa means with absolute dedication. If you do that, then the fog starts to clear. And the vision changes from I am a human being seeking a spiritual experience to I am a spiritual being and endowed with a human experience from time to time. And that experience will go. It will go completely at one time. And so that is what the end result of Nididhyasanam is. So this is an important section, and I think we've covered this 2 or 3 times, so hopefully it'll be something that will leave an impression in our minds. Then I will just very quickly go through the rest. It's not quite as relevant to the Phalam. So then, from verse number 24 onwards, Sri Krishna, in order to make sure that the process of Nididhyasanam is clear, goes back to the nature of Nididhyasanam. So up to now was the result of Nididhyasanam. 20 to 23 was the result of Nididhyasanam. But in 24 onwards to the few more, it is the nature of Nididhyasanam which is talked about again. And so I'll just bring some basic things about it, but I think we're pretty much done. '25. So this is an interesting one sidelight to this. Swami Paramarthananda had taught a book on... so all the acharyas, they are very, very articulate in sketching out how Nididhyasanam should be done. And so just to reiterate it, what it means is that first the premise or the promise, both the premise and the promise of Vedanta should be very clear to us. What is it that you're saying? What's the nature of the Atma? What is the nature of the Anatma? So all questions, what happens to us after this life? How will I not be born? All those kinds of things have to be talked about. So this is what it means Shravanam. Shravanam doesn't mean just 1 or 2 classes. It has exactly the same way that just like if you are serious about medicine or law or engineering or something like this, you have to get to be an expert, know everything about it. And so this is exactly what this is. Vedanta, we have to become experts at it. And it's possible to get experts, become experts. Now, this expertise has a funny nature because first you study it as a subject matter where your own life is separate from it. You're just studying it as more of as a separate, one example which Swami Dayanandji had given is a beautiful example. So what he was saying was that when you first, and I have given the same example before, so forgive me if you find this repetitive. When you first want to see yourself clearly every day, you need to have a clean mirror. Because you cannot really function. I mean, if you're a man, you're going to have to shave, and you cannot shave without looking at your face. And if you're a woman and you are putting some makeup also, you need something to be able to see. You cannot see yourself. So getting a mirror is an important thing. So I still remember when I was a youngster in Amritsar, my grandfather went for a shopping for a mirror. And I remember this so well. And it was not an easy thing because Indian mirrors were distorted. And so you had to go for a foreign mirror. And we didn't have the money for a foreign mirror. Belgian mirrors were supposed to be very nice and clean. This is back in 40s when I was 5 or 6 or 7 years old. And so we just got a local mirror, but it was not as good. Anyway, all I'm saying is that first you shop for a mirror. But you know what? And the first time you put your mirror, your whole focus is on the mirror. Is it straight? Is it the right place on the wall? And you may be looking at yourself in the mirror, but you're not really looking at yourself in the mirror. You're looking at the mirror because you want to place it correctly. So the whole focus is on the mirror. Then, after that is done, you can start looking at yourself in the mirror. And as it happens, you don't look at the mirror at all. When you walk in, you look at yourself. This is what the mirror is supposed to be for. So the very nature of the mirror has changed from being the main focus to become just a sadhana. So also as the teaching goes. So when the Shravanam is where you are shopping for a mirror. What is it saying about me? Now, you have not looked yourself in the mirror yet. You have not seen that the Bhagavad Gita is talking about me. How my dukkha samyogam, etc. That I am not sure yet. It is just saying, okay, this is verse number 23, chapter number 6. This is like a mirror. Sam vidya dukkha samyogam viyogam. And so we have to look at all aspects of Vedanta, which means that, it's not as simple as a mirror, but it's very similar to it in the sense that it's very complicated, but you have to see exactly what is it saying. Even then, you have not connected it to your own life yet. Then the connection with your own life starts. It is like you are not used to seeing yourself in the mirror. Pretty soon, you start to trust the mirror giving you an accurate picture of who you are. And from that point on, you are yourself looking at the mirror. You're not looking at the mirror. And so that process is the nididhyasana, mananam, where you're now seeing this is not just a book, this is me. What they're talking about. My reflection. So this is called a paroksha jnanam from an aparoksha jnanam. So paroksha jnana means a kind of like a I wouldn't say completely, so the paroksha means just like supposing somebody gives you a brochure on some exotic beach. One of my friend's son, I ran into a young man. He's about, same age as my son. and he's a very successful local doctor here. So I just ran into him at the gym the other day. His name is Rajan. So I said, how are you? How are you doing? So, for this, how was your last few months? So he says, well, I took my family to Bora Bora. And I've heard of Bora Bora, but I have no idea where it is or what it is. So I says, what? He says, yeah, that was wonderful. And then he also described all the problems that they had, how far it was. And there was, and anyway, so they had this nice experience. So he was describing about Bora Bora. And it's in the one of the Polynesian islands, and God knows where. Anyway, this is what is called Paroksha Jnanam. So Paroksha Jnana means it's not as though he was lying to me, but I don't have a very clear picture. He might have even had given me a brochure. He says, this is where we went. This is Bora Bora. So I might have looked at it. So, Shravanam, and looking at the Vedantic methods of myself is kind of like Paroksha Jnana. It's Paroksha Jnana. But now, Aparoksha Jnana means, if I ever, I don't think I will, but if I were to go to Bora Bora and to actually see Bora Bora, would be called Aparoksha Jnana. And so the process of transitioning from Shravanam to Mananam to Nididhyasanam is to go to Aparoksha Jnana. This word Aparoksha is a very, very important and a very beautiful word. Beautiful word. I remember when Swami Dayananji first explained this to me. Well, let me just add that to my description. So, there are 3 words used to describe my experiences. One is called Pratyaksha, one is called Paroksha, and the third one is called Aparoksha. Okay? So all my life's experiences can be subdivided into these 3. Pratyaksha, Paroksha, and Aparoksha. Pratyaksha means one which is directly experienced by my sense organs. Right now, this is called Pratyaksha. We're sitting in the class, you're watching me, I'm watching you, and we're hearing some air conditioning or heater sounds, light. This is called Pratyaksha. Hearing about Bora Bora is called Paroksha. Paroksha means away from me, away from my sense organs. Yeah. So that's an interesting thing to see. Away from my bodily sense experiences is called Paroksha. So, if you look at the experiences, it is either Pratyaksha or Paroksha, isn't it? If whatever you are at that time, it is Pratyaksha. And anything outside of that is Paroksha. And Paroksha can become Aparoksha. No, Paroksha will become Pratyaksha. See, look at this. If I were to go to Bora Bora, then that Paroksha will become Pratyaksha because I can see it, right? Now, where do we put my consciousness, myself, in this picture? First of all, it is not Pratyaksha because it is not seen. I am the very seer. It does not have a form. I do not, my consciousness, myself, the Satchit Swarupa is not pratyaksha, not something I can say, oh, this is where I am. No. Then, is it paroksha? Can I ever be paroksha? I am where I am. Wherever I am, it is I am there. It is never paroksha. Never. So imagine, I am neither pratyaksha nor paroksha. It is the beautiful word called aparoksha. Not paroksha. Aparoksha means not paroksha. I am not away from. I am neither pratyaksha nor paroksha. The self is aparoksha. I am always there, but never as something which is a formful thing that I am seeing. I am the very seer of the seen. So the word paroksha is used to describe the self. And so the whole process of nididhyasanam. And the interesting thing is that my nature is taken by me to be paroksha. I don't know where I am. My lower nature is felt, but my higher nature is paroksha. And to convert paroksha, you have to see it as aparoksha, not as pratyaksha. You have to see them, oh my goodness, I am never away from you. Wherever I am always there. So when you do that, you change the vision from a human being with a spiritual experience to being a spiritual being which is always there at all times. And I may have a human experience during the daytime. At night time, even that human experience also disappears. The humanness disappears. But the self remains. Satyam Jnanam Anantam. So this is how we change the paroksha view of myself into an aparoksha view of. And this is done through the repetition of this circle. Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. Not yet clear? Go back to Shravanam, study some more, think about it some more. It is called Jnana Sadhana. So there is nothing to be done, but something to be known. And this is how the process of freedom. This is the narrative of the movie that we have to be seeing. So this is the essence of Nididhyasanam, this chapter 6. So we'll just to share the thoughts with you. Probably go for a couple more weeks. I'm thinking that I will start the 7th chapter right after Swamiji leaves. So the first week of July. I'm asking Ramananji also to send it to some of the yoga students, so he's doing a version of that. And what I will do is just take it as a course for this one chapter, number 7, and ask people to do it. And I'm also thinking that I'm going to ask people to write an essay at the end of that, so that you have an understanding. It doesn't have to be very detailed, but just of an essay. Then I will also evaluate it and send it back to you and say, you missed this, you missed that. So I think we'll do it one chapter at a time, and if it goes, I'll continue. Otherwise, I'll switch over to some other text. Okay. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityo Ma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. So I do have some flyers for Swami Viditatmananda's visit. So if